Tony Hinchcliffe was born on June 8, 1984 in Youngstown, Ohio. He was raised by his single mother, Joy, in the city's North Side district, known to be a rough neighborhood. Tony has shared in interviews that his mother had a career as a bookie, running a successful numbers game throughout the years of his childhood. Tony has also shared the story of discovering that he was the child of an affair that his mother had with a neighbor. The precocious young Hinchcliffe had noticed his dad's truck was always parked on a classmate's street that he passed every day on the bus. When he asked his mother about this, Joy came clean and told Tony the truth. Fortunately, Tony was embraced by his older half-siblings, who lovingly affirmed him as a part of the family. Tony has spoken about growing up in a largely Black neighborhood, which no doubt influenced his signature style of fearlessly using humor to skillfully comment on touchy or controversial racial subjects. Hinchcliffe is best known for his talent for roasting and has mentioned in interviews that his knack for insults started early. Hinchcliffe recalls an incident on his first day of first grade when he insulted a fellow student, which led to him being punched in the mouth. Despite the altercation, they later became good friends. If you're familiar with Kill Tony, you'll probably recognize how this earlier experience has shaped his style of calling out someone's deepest insecurities one moment, then laughing with them and encouraging them in the next. Hinchcliffe attended Ursuline High School, graduating in 2002. As you can imagine, many teachers were not impressed by his sharp tongue and tendency to make cutting remarks. Luckily, by this point, Hinchcliffe's wit was too entrenched in his personality to be pushed down by his teachers' disapproval. After all those years of practice, his ability to roast and handle hecklers would become a signature part of his act. Hinchcliffe has talked about seeing stand-up comedians in his youth and instinctively knowing that he was just as capable of making a crowd laugh. So after high school, Hinchcliffe moved to Los Angeles in 2007 to pursue his dream. Hinchcliffe got a job at Starbucks, allowing him to sustain himself financially as he found his footing in the comedy scene. Tony has mentioned meeting Jeff LaBeouf, the father of famous actor Shia LaBeouf, while working at the coffee shop. It was Jeff who encouraged him to go straight to the top and start doing open mics at the Comedy Store, instead of trying to work his way up, performing at smaller venues. Tony took this advice, and this leap of faith was what eventually helped catapult him to the heights of the comedy world. Within a few weeks, Tony had landed a job at the club. He initially worked in the phones and cover booth before gradually becoming a regular performer. At the Comedy Store, Hinchcliffe was surrounded by some of the world's most talented comedians. His time at the store allowed him to hone his skills, providing a platform for him to develop his dark, edgy humor. Tony Hinchcliffe is now best known as the host of the Kill Tony podcast, where Hinchcliffe's talent for roasting is combined with an open mic. Names are randomly selected from the bucket of destiny to perform a 1-minute set and then get interviewed and often roasted by Hinchcliffe and his guests. Guests may be seasoned comedians, musicians, podcasters, actors, or even famous athletes. You never know what direction the show will take, as the guests and performers drop hilarious one-liners and share candid details from their personal lives. Performers who show promise are often given helpful feedback and encouragement, and may receive a Kill Tony joke book if they performed a particularly standout set. Others bomb, desperately telling jokes to a silent crowd, and usually get relentlessly made fun of by the panel. At moments, the secondhand embarrassment can be excruciating, but this is what the performers signed up for. Originally filmed at the Comedy Store, the show became a staple of the venue's lineup. The show included a live band full of comedians who were more about making jokes than making music. The band would dress up as hilarious characters, including the outrageous pink-wigged feminist Stacy, and orange jumpsuit wearing Shanks. The show grew and eventually began touring internationally, doing shows in Canada, Europe, and Australia. Things took a drastic turn for the show in 2020 as pandemic restrictions forced the show into a virtual format. The fun of Kill Tony is largely based on the spontaneity of a live crowd and onstage antics, so the show didn't translate well. Eventually, Hinchcliffe relocated the show to Austin, Texas, to join Ron White, Joe Rogan, and other comedians who had moved there. Hinchcliffe was able to restart the live shows and appreciated the liberties celebrated in Texas, including the freedom to choose not to be vaccinated and to voice non-PC opinions. The podcast was initially hosted at Anton's nightclub before moving to the Vulcan Gas Company, and eventually to Joe Rogan's new comedy club, the Comedy Mothership in downtown Austin. Kill Tony has become an influential platform for discovering and promoting new comedic talent. Particularly talented comedians may be given a spot as a regular on the show, where they have the chance to perform a new minute every week. Many of these regulars have gone on to achieve greater success, benefiting from the exposure and continuous feedback. Despite controversy, challenges, and the inevitable haters, the show has maintained a strong following and continues to be a fixture in the comedy world.